I always had a dream when I was a small boy that I wanted to marry a girl with whom I would work together.
Nobody knew Marjorie Rieu's name, but everyone knew André's smile, his concerts, his empire worth 50 million euros. What they didn't know was the woman behind all of it. She slept in hallways. She lost 12 kilograms in a single crisis. She held secrets that could have ended his career overnight. Then came the diagnosis that doctors tried to hide from the press. The one that made André whisper backstage that he never wanted another day like that again. Now, Marjorie is walking away. But the real question is why she waited this long. This is the story of what one diagnosis cost them both. Marjorie Kochman's story begins in Maastricht in the early 1950s, where the walls of her home still carried the weight of a world that had just survived a war. She grew up in a strict German-Dutch household, and everything in that house moved with the rhythm of her father's discipline. He was a Holocaust survivor who had clawed his way back to life, and he believed language could keep his family safe. So when Marjorie turned 5, her evenings filled with German drills and Goethe poems. She would stand in the living room repeating lines again and again until her voice felt tired. By the time she was 10, she could move between German and Dutch as if both were her native breath. She later said that these drills felt less like lessons and more like her father trying to rebuild something inside himself, which made her understand him even when the atmosphere felt tense and heavy. As she grew older, small sparks of rebellion started forming inside her. At 8, when everyone expected her to sit at the piano like any proper girl, she quietly reached for the violin instead. She carried it to the attic, which soon became her hiding place. She practiced for hours with the bow tucked under old blankets to soften the sound. Her father's anger rose each time he heard even a hint of the violin, but she kept returning to that dusty room. By 10, she could play difficult pieces simply by listening to them, and that secret skill carried her forward, even when it cost her meals or sleep. Those moments planted the seeds that would later shape her life in the music world. By 14, she felt brave enough to step outside the walls of her family and play at local folk fairs. She chose Beatles covers, music that felt wild and freeing in her strict community. She earned 10 guilders per gig and tucked the crumpled bills inside a sock so her mother wouldn't find them. Between 1966 and 1968, she played at least 20 shows, earning around 200 guilders that she saved to buy her first real violin. Teenagers gathered around her at these fairs because they felt the same pull toward something new. She always remembered that time as the moment she learned how music could connect strangers and soften the rules that tried to hold her back. That drive grew stronger when she turned 16. She organized bohemian music nights in her school basement, where students crowded into the dim space to listen to jazz, rock, and folk. The school held tightly to classical rules, so her underground nights felt like tiny revolutions. The gatherings kept growing until one evening the police raided the basement because someone complained about immoral dancing. The school expelled her for 3 months, but even that didn't stop her. She moved the concerts to friends' houses, and the local newspapers wrote about the scandal. Looking back, she said those nights taught her that music could gather people even in the face of authority. Then, at 17, she found her father's hidden diary. It was tucked away, untouched, but once she read it, everything changed. The pages described his escape from Auschwitz and the long years he spent in hiding after losing most of his family. The raw pain in those pages opened her eyes to the shadows he carried. His strictness suddenly made sense. She realized he was trying to shape strength in her because fear had shaped him. From that moment, she made a promise to herself to live louder than silence. she wanted her music to bring hope and light, something opposite to everything her father had endured. That vow guided every decision she made afterward. By 19, Marjorie was studying German at the University of Nijmegen and started working as a teacher at Jeanne d'Arc College. She taught for about 7 years, but she never saw herself as someone meant to stand in front of a classroom. While she taught during the week, she slipped away on weekends to compose jingles for local radio stations. She earned 200 guilders a month and kept this work hidden from her school principal because moonlighting was not allowed. She said she lived with a strange mix of fear and excitement. But that double life helped her fund her growing passion for music. Soon, she felt ready for a leap. At 21, she left teaching and joined Gemma Minin's Salon Orchestra as a violinist and arranger. She began rewriting waltzes for retirement homes, and the payment sometimes came as nothing more than sandwiches. Even then, she made every moment count and built a list of over 50 promoters within a few months. This list became the backbone of her future. Walking away from a stable job toward the uncertain world of freelance music was bold, yet she trusted her instinct. Her effort turned her into a known name in the Dutch music scene. Then came 1973, a year that shifted everything. She co-wrote a demo tape with her boyfriend, André Rieu. They spent weeks preparing it, and when the tape was ready, Marjorie took over the business side. She stood at a payphone and called 47 Dutch record labels. 46 rejected her, claiming the classical crossover sound was too niche. One label finally agreed to give them a chance. That single yes changed the direction of their lives. She always remembered the way each rejection hardened her resolve and made the final yes even sweeter. At 22, money became so tight she had to pawn her violin for 500 guilders just to fund the first rehearsal of the Maastricht Salon Orchestra. The rehearsal took place in a cold church basement, with 9 musicians who played for free, simply because they believed in her vision. She risked losing her most precious instrument, but she knew that rehearsal needed to happen. It marked a milestone in their dream, showing her that sacrifice could open doors they didn't yet see. When she turned 24, she pushed the orchestra beyond Dutch borders. She negotiated their first United States gig at a Dutch expat fair in Chicago. She handled every visa and detail herself, while 7 months pregnant with their son Mark. Traveling in the early 1980s was already challenging, and doing it while pregnant made the task even heavier. Yet she made it work. That gig marked the beginning of their international journey and showed just how strong she was when pressure surrounded her. 2 years before that Chicago trip, she had secretly married André Rieu. Their civil ceremony on October 18, 1975, stayed hidden because André's parents disapproved of Marjorie. They called her a hippie and pushed him into 4 years of therapy. Through it all, she stayed beside him, and their marriage lasted more than 48 years. She later became his manager, writer, and the quiet force shaping his global success. Their partnership grew from shared struggles, shared music, and an unspoken promise that they would always lift each other up. By 1978, André founded the Maastricht Salon Orchestra with 12 musicians. They rehearsed in their kitchen and living room, and Marjorie spent nights hand-copying 200 sets of sheet music for performances. She refused André's half-joking suggestion to open a pizza shop if the orchestra failed. Those early rehearsals led to small concerts across the Netherlands and Germany. 10 years later, the orchestra evolved into the Johann Strauss Orchestra, now famous across the world. In every step, her unseen work kept the group moving forward. But growth brought hard days too. In 1982, they performed at a local elderly home where only 8 people showed up. All 8 walked out before the waltz ended. Marjorie didn't let that moment sting for long. She chased the audience members, talked to them personally, and promised free tea at future shows. Her determination brought 15 return shows, which slowly built their reputation. She believed that one small chance could blossom into many if handled with care. Her role wasn't just creative, it was also protective. When she was 28, she discovered that their accountant had stolen 10,000 guilders from the orchestra. She stayed up all night going through the books, found the missing money, fired the accountant, and took legal action. She recovered 70% of the stolen amount and saved them from collapse. Moments like that showed her ability to guard their dream as fiercely as she built it. When she turned 30, she typed out the orchestra's first promotional brochure using a kitchen typewriter. She created 500 copies and mailed them to Belgian fairs and organizers. Her effort brought 22 paid gigs, each averaging 300 guilders, giving them a total of around 6,600 guilders. That campaign marked the start of their commercial expansion. It showed that with persistence, creativity, and a little bit of stubbornness, she could turn a kitchen table project into a real business. Marjorie Rieu started shaping André's future long before anyone knew their names. In 1985, she spent her days driving nearly 200 kilometers across the Netherlands, stopping at 5 different retirement homes with a stack of sheet music and a stubborn belief that these small shows mattered. She picked up 50 Dutch guilders in tips at each stop, saving the coins in jars so André could keep chasing his dream. At every venue, she whispered little bits of English to him, helping him talk to older audiences who didn't always understand his jokes. But they loved the feeling he brought into those quiet rooms. The nights were long, and the routine stretched on for months, yet each show carried them a step forward. That slow climb helped André build the confidence he needed to leave those small halls and reach for theaters and concert stages. Then came a moment that pushed everything even harder. During a 40-concert Belgium tour in the 1980s, Marjorie fell sick with pneumonia at just 32. She felt dizzy during sound checks, yet she kept performing until her body gave out after the final show. Doctors told her she had pushed herself far past the safe limit. Still, the moment she recovered, she used her collapse to negotiate double pay from the promoter. People around her were stunned, but this became the story everyone repeated because it showed the edge she carried. Her toughness was becoming something legendary, and it explained the price behind the dream they were building. By 1987, she had found another mountain to climb. She pitched a waltz revival to 12 Dutch radio stations because she believed classical waltzes could still feel alive. All 12 rejected her. They said nobody wanted old waltzes anymore. Instead of giving up, she marched into one of the stations without an invite and played live in their lobby while executives stared in disbelief. It worked. The station gave her the first airplay, and that single spark began a wave of new listeners, new bookings, and a new path for André Rieu. Each step kept proving her refusal to accept no. Her life never slowed down. When she gave birth to their second son, Pierre, in 1981, she returned to gigs only 3 days later. She walked into venues with her violin and a baby strapped to her back during rehearsals, switching between motherhood and stage life without missing performances. Some musicians whispered that it was too much, but she kept going because she believed both worlds deserved her full effort. Over time, people began to admire the balance she carried, and many young mothers in the music scene quietly took inspiration from her. As the years rolled forward, her ideas grew bigger. In 1989, she created something everyone later called the Gig Bible. She filled it with 1-200 contacts handwritten from years of notes, and sold photocopies to rival musicians for 100 guilders each. The money helped buy the family's first tour bus. The Bible wasn't just a list. It held advice about venues, promoters, and how to get booked. Musicians passed it around like treasure, and everyone knew it came from Marjorie's mind. Around that same time, another major step unfolded. André launched the Johann Strauss Orchestra in 1987 with 12 musicians. Marjorie handled the finances, the logistics, and everything behind the curtain. Their first concert happened on January 1st, 1988, in Maastricht. She shaped the early years with her focus and discipline, guiding André through the rough spots. By 1994, the orchestra had grown, and her steady hand kept the group tight as they prepared for bigger stages. But she also made decisions that carried weight. In 1987, she fired 15 musicians in one emotional meeting, cutting the orchestra from 35 members to 20. She believed some players weren't committed enough. Her choice left people in tears, yet the concerts became sharper afterward. Audiences noticed the difference, and critics praised the new discipline. Dutch newspapers talked about her tough approach, and this marked the start of the orchestra's transformation. Her boldest gamble came in 1989 when she mortgaged the family home for 50,000 Dutch guilders to fund their first CD. With no support from labels, she carried boxes of the CD from store to store across the Netherlands. She placed them on shelves herself and talked shop owners into giving them a chance. The CD caught on and became the first real breakthrough. Fans still talk about how she risked everything for the music she believed in. The next year, she pushed again. At a party in Amsterdam in 1990, she cornered Polydor Records executives and made them listen to the demo tape. She spent 3 hours explaining why the orchestra deserved a deal. When they finally agreed, the entire direction of the orchestra changed. The signing led to new recordings, bigger venues, and growing international momentum. Her persistence had opened another door. In 1991, she convinced the Maastricht City Council to allow concerts at the Vrijthof, a 5,000-seat square. When officials hesitated, she hinted that they might move their base to Liège in Belgium. The city council folded, and the Vrijthof became the orchestra's summer home. Those concerts later became a tradition, loved by fans around the world. Another clever idea arrived when she was 38. She introduced VIP waltz lessons, where concertgoers paid extra to dance with orchestra members before the shows. This raised profits by 20% across 50 European concerts and made the events unforgettable for fans. Other orchestras copied the idea almost immediately. Soon, the dream crossed oceans. In 1994, she disguised herself as a waitress at a major promoter conference in New York and slipped André's tape to a key agent. Her bold approach got André booked at Carnegie Hall. The concert sold out in days and marked the start of their American rise. Even scandals couldn't slow them down. In 1996, a tabloid claimed that the orchestra was falling apart from infighting. Marjorie responded by leaking a counter-story about a diva violinist who had been fired for poor behavior. Fans sided with André, and album sales jumped by 30%. Her quick thinking turned trouble into strength. That same year, she helped publish Marjorie Rieu, My Music, My Life. She wrote most of it herself, gathering details from 500 hours of interviews. The book reached number 3 on Dutch charts and stayed in print for years because readers felt how real the story was. Hard moments kept coming, but she turned them each into something bright. In 1998, the orchestra's tour bus broke down in the Alps, with 45 people stranded. Marjorie hot-wired the generator with a hairpin and kept things running long enough for André to perform a candlelit concert for 2,000 fans. The story spread fast and became one of the most beloved memories of their touring years. Then, in 1999, she negotiated a contract clause for stadium tours that banned all rival merchandise. With audiences of up to 10,000 people, the orchestra kept every bit of profit from their own sales. The idea changed how classical tours handled merchandise and helped secure their financial future. From the first years of André's rise, she stepped behind him and shaped the world the audience would one day believe had formed by magic. She managed every tiny detail of his shows, every script he delivered, every interview he gave. Little by little, she built the image of the King of Waltz until it felt natural, as if it had always existed. In the 2000s, she wrote more than 200 concert intros in 5 languages and rehearsed André up to 50 times for each one, because she knew confidence comes from preparation. She translated and edited his biographies, including the 2008 book that told the world how their journey began. Even André said it out loud more than once that without Marjorie, there would be no André Rieu. And when he said that, it was not a sweet compliment. It was the truth. She guided the strategic decisions, the artist management, the branding, and the long future they were building together, shaping something that felt larger than both of them. Her strength extended into finances too. Inside the Rieu organization, everyone knew she watched every number. Every quarter she audited the books herself. Once she discovered 3 managers secretly taking 5% from the orchestra's income. That tiny number would have grown into millions if she had not caught it early. She fired them, stepped in, and reorganized the finances with her own hands. In a few years, the orchestra's revenue jumped from €1 million in the early 2000s to €50 million in 2005. It didn't happen by accident. It came from sharp decisions, international expansions, and contracts negotiated with precision. She turned a beloved orchestra into a financial fortress, strong enough to survive storms that would have destroyed others. Then came the moment that showed how far she was willing to go for André. In 2007, Sony offered her a solo career. It was rare and tempting. She could have stepped into her own spotlight, but she turned it down because she knew it would split the focus and weaken André's dream. She chose to ghostwrite his next biography instead. That book, released in 2008, became a bestseller, and it strengthened his global image more than any press tour could have. She gave up her own path to reinforce the foundation of his. Some choices are loud. Hers was silent, but it changed everything. Her silence did not make her gentle. In 2008, when the recession hit the entertainment world head-on, she moved fast. Contracts needed to be rewritten quickly. Venues needed to be renegotiated. In a single night, she sat with a fax machine and reset 150 deals, cutting 20% of costs and saving the orchestra from collapse. She restructured operations, protected jobs, and steered the brand through a storm that shut down companies much bigger than theirs. She became the voice of reason in a year filled with panic, guiding everyone through with the clarity she always carried. By 2010, she understood that building an empire is one thing, but preserving it is something else entirely. So she created a family trust and placed Pierre and Marc in a position where they would learn by doing. From the age of 18, they followed her through shadow gigs, watching rehearsals, studying finances, learning how to make decisions that would protect the orchestra's future. The trust became a long-term plan, a quiet shield around everything the family had created. Her planning turned into a model other dynasties studied closely, showing how a legacy can be protected without being frozen. Then 2010 delivered the shock that changed their lives. André collapsed in Belgium at 3 a.m. It wasn't exhaustion or travel fatigue. It was a viral infection attacking his vestibular nerve. the part of the inner ear that controls balance. Suddenly, the world started spinning, and he couldn't stand without falling. His career depended entirely on stability and movement, and for 3 months he could barely walk. Tours stopped. Concerts were canceled. 40,000 ticket holders were affected. The orchestra froze, not knowing what would come next. The press scattered stories about altitude sickness, but the truth was much heavier. His entire ability to perform was hanging by a thread, and Marjorie became the only person making decisions. That night in Belgium never left him. He whispered to her backstage that he never wanted another day like that again. And from that moment on, she pushed for recovery with an intensity that saved his future. She forced him into daily balance therapy. She refused to let him return to the stage early, even if it meant canceling a dream performance at their beloved Friedhof. She carried the weight of that anger when he argued. She carried the fear, but she knew what was at stake. If he returned too soon, he could lose everything. And later he admitted her tough love was the reason he could step on stage again. For 6 weeks, she slept in a hallway outside his room because she wanted to be close enough to catch him if he fell. Those nights were filled with worry, silence, and constant checking. Reporters twisted the story, some saying his career was over. She protected him from those headlines, released only what doctors approved, and kept the inside struggle away from the outside noise. She held the line while carrying her own exhaustion. She bore the pressure almost alone. And then came the return. In 2011, she wrote his comeback speech. Every word was crafted to steady the hearts of fans and reassure the world that André was ready. 15,000 people filled Maastricht for that night. When he stepped on stage, the crowd rose in a long emotional ovation that seemed to lift every shadow that had settled over the past year. That moment didn't just belong to André. It belonged to her too because she had guided the recovery, shaped the message, and rebuilt the confidence that made the return possible. The strain took its toll. She lost 12 kilograms during that crisis, carrying the roles of partner, manager, strategist, and protector all at once. But she turned that weight of experience into her next biography, writing honestly about the hidden struggles and the pressure that lived behind the scenes. Her words became a window into what leadership looks like when everything is on the line. As the years passed, her influence didn't fade. It simply changed shape. She stepped back from public life in 2025, handing most operations to their sons while keeping a small creative veto from their castle home, de Torrentias. That decision came soon after André almost collapsed again in Mexico City in March 2024 when a severe flu forced 4 cancellations. The scare made her draw a new boundary: no altitude venues above 2,000 meters. That rule became permanent, and already it has protected several shows from becoming dangerous. By 2025, Pierre and Marc were leading the empire their parents built. Pierre purchased the historic Hotel d'Erlon in July 2025 and turned it into a symbol of their family's expanding ventures. Marc took control of tour logistics and artist management. André stayed present with a small creative say in every project. Their castle remained the center of ideas and decisions, with Marjorie watching from a quieter distance, but still shaping the direction when it mattered most. And then came André's 2026 retirement plan. His memoir, Shadows of the Waltz, would reveal 20 career secrets and stories behind his breakthroughs. The first print run would be 100,000 copies. The launch would happen at the Friedhof in March 2026. And tucked inside those pages would be stories of how Marjorie pushed for bold moves, including buying the castle that later became the heart of their empire.